From veteran bumpers going from shocking show-off to generic jobber in next to no time at all, to certain chosen ones struggling to find their feet within the new regime. These are those WWE stars who have seen their stock plummet in recent times. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 wrestlers WWE gave up on in 2022. Number 10, Madcap Moss. Kicking off 2022 with a not exactly unexpected defeat to a certain Scottish warrior at day one, not even the one-time Riddick Moss's questionable fashion sense could disguise the fact that there was definitely a great deal of potential to be found within the former college footballer. But Madcap hasn't exactly managed to capture the imaginations of the masses on the back of winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Yes, that happened this year, and eventually colliding with his former pal Happy Corbin. Donning a more generic all-black gear and still busting out the odd awkward one-liner on occasion, the now babyface powerhouse has also largely struggled to convince Triple H and the new regime that he's a face worth getting behind at this current moment. The sight of Moss being emphatically fed to Papa H's pride and joy carrying cross on a recent edition of SmackDown likely reflected where he currently sits in the Blue Show's pecking order after a breakout first quarter of 2022. It may become harder for this Moss to grow in the way he'd hope in the coming years. See what I did there? Number 9, Massey and Mansoir. Sitting as one of the last real nutty swings of the bat from former WWE head of creative and chairman Vince McMahon, finally giving the often overlooked Mansoor and Mace something to actually do on SmackDown seemed like a positive development. Yet, despite an absurdly hilarious first few weeks in the Maximum Male model spotlight, depicting the newly rechristened Massey and Mansoir modeling the latest fashion collections, and pouting like two Zoolander extras, the joke soon wore out. That, along with the one-time leader of the faction, Max Dupree, inevitably cutting ties with the doomed group and embracing his LA Knight shtick of old, yeah, and his kayfabe sister Maxine not exactly catapulting the group to new heights either, has left this entire strut down the catwalk feeling like little more than an ill-thought-out waste of time for all involved. Maximum Male models are still yet to win a match since debuting as a thing in July, with WWE and their universe seemingly losing all interest in the lads, being anything more than an unfunny joke in next to no time at all. Number 8, Lacey Evans. Entirely botching whatever the hell they wanted Lacey Evans to be upon making her long-awaited return to action earlier this year, an initial babyface re-emergence that saw the legit one-time Marine use her real-life struggles to draw sympathy from fans, was soon followed up by a bizarre switch from SmackDown to Raw and a heel turn. Said turning to the dark side ultimately lasted about a minute, only for Evans to once again turn her back on the crowd a month on from her Friday night babyface comeback. Sure enough, said flip-flopping did the returning military veteran little favors, and it wasn't too long before Evans bizarrely refused to fight Aaliyah for weeks on end, and consistently dished out women's rights to her rival? An injury would then force the charismatic performer onto the sidelines for a spell, but even when the former title contender did manage to stay in the ring long enough for the bell to sound, Evans found herself being obliviated by Liv Morgan in September. It is starting to feel like Evans may not actually have a significant place in Triple H's new game. Number 7, Los Lotharios. Despite boasting two clearly talented workers and a kiss cam gimmick that once possessed the ability to at least conjure up an ounce of heat from those in attendance, it has felt like the duo of Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo have been seen as little more than gifted fodder from the get-go. With the King of Kings returning and called up babies in the form of Hit Row and Legado del Fantasma respectively, quickly overtaking the high-flying duo on TV, with the likes of the New Day, Brawling Brutes, Imperium and the Viking Raiders all calling SmackDown home at time of recording too. Any hopes of Los Lotharios breaking free from their perennial jobber status appears to be slim at best going forward. Now that's not to say that the flamboyant fellas can't still continue to occupy a spot on the Blue Show as a go-to squashable unit for the team Strips really wants to get behind, but the pair haven't done much to stand out from the pack in recent times, and WWE seem to have turned their attention elsewhere anyway. Number 6, Dolph Ziggler. After spending much of the last few years as one half of the just fine Dirty Dogs unit alongside Robert Roode, Dolph Ziggler was suddenly thrust back into singles prominence in early 2022, thanks to an unexpectedly successful stint down in NXT, a run that saw the former World Heavyweight Champion pick up his first NXT Championship. That brief swerve spell aside though, Ziggler would soon reclaim his stale spot in the main roster mid-card, only this time as a face for the first time since 2017. And what was the payoff for the former Mr. Money in the Bank getting under the skin of the most recent pain-in-the-ass holder of said briefcase on Raw, Theory beating Ziggler clean as a whistle to the sound of crickets. A returning Baron Corbin and JBL made an example out of the show-off on a recent edition of Raw too. Also, after 15 years of service and that NXT title win, is there really anything left for Ziggler to achieve on the single stage? Judging from his more recent usage, WWE clearly don't think so. Number 5. Veer. Somehow going on to become one of the most popular internet darlings of recent times on the back of spending a bloody age coming to Monday Night Raw, Veer's eventual re-arrival on the post-WrestleMania 38 Red Show managed to genuinely sit as one of the most electric moments of the night. But acting as simply the latest toy Vince McMahon wound up getting bored of trying to get over in record time, Veer's uninspired massacring of the Mysterios and a string of local talents quickly killed the unlikely buzz surrounding the raging wrestler by July. And it was at this point when WWE's lack of interest in all things Veer truly reared its head, with the once wrecking ball suddenly popping up backstage to spook Sarah Schreiber before cackling off into the shadows. Since then, the star has reunited with old Indus Sherpal Sangha on NXT, with the twosome looking to establish whatever form of momentum they can as a unit in developmental. But with the pair already failing to really take off in a number of other roles up to this point, it is starting to feel like a do-or-die moment in time for the suited and booted powerhouses. Number 4. Aaliyah. She may have formed one half of an unlikely pair of women's tag team champions over the course of 2022, but that still doesn't necessarily mean WWE were fully on board the Aaliyah train by any means. If anything, the longtime NXT performer's presence alongside Raquel Rodriguez in that women's tag team championship tournament winning twosome appeared to act as little more than a foundation for Big Mammy Cool's inevitable turn on her teammate, and push as a singles wrecking machine when the time was right. Aaliyah's unfortunate injury during the team's title-losing effort against Damage Control in September seemed to put a pin in said story for now, however. 2022 did still see the star score a record-breaking fastest win in WWE history, but these hollow victories hardly suggest the company has any grand plans for the plucky underdog in an increasingly stacked women's division. Number 3. Drew McIntyre. In a year that has seen the former WWE champion headline the company's highly anticipated PLE comeback to the British Isles and kick out of the all-conquering end of days on the grandest stage of them all, it's still tough to escape the feeling that the folks pulling the sports entertainment strings may have lost a bit of interest in Drew McIntyre over the last 12 months. Now sure, the Scottish Warrior has regularly found himself on television and rarely finds himself without a feud to get stuck into, but with the likes of Roman Reigns holding the big belts, Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley occupying the blockbuster meaty man spots, and even the returning Bray Wyatt seemingly overtaking Drew as SmackDown's top babyface in recent times, McIntyre's stock does seem to be dropping by the week right now. He's hardly been aided by a consistently dreadful program opposite Karrion Crossmind, with their never-ending war putting fans to sleep quicker than the bringer of Doomsday's cross jacket. Either way, the days of WWE backing Drew as the all-conquering hero of the company seem to have reached their end. So maybe it's time for him to channel his inner psychopath again for a spell, eh? Number 2. Sonya Deville. After angling to see Sonya Deville finally be given the chance to step back into the squared circle after spending a frustrating amount of time acting as little more than the latest on-air authority thorn in the sides of the majority of the roster, fans finally got their wish throughout 2022, and it was in this moment when WWE seemed to decide that the former Fire and Desire figure had next to no value outside of being absolutely battered by their top faces week after week. Seriously, since permanently hanging up her corporate suit on the back of an admittedly crowd-popping sacking as a WWE official in May, Deville has picked up a grand total of 1 victory on TV upon once again becoming a full-time in-ring performer. While the former MMA fighter has routinely proven to be one of the more reliable heels the company possesses on the mic, and a decent hand in between the ropes too, her consistent battering at the hands of the likes of Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan just doesn't seem to hint at WWE priming her for a run at a strap or even a few victories anytime soon. Number 1. Austin Theory. Oh boy. It had long been theorized, ironically, that Austin Theory's days as WWE's Golden Boy could be numbered on the back of Triple H being handed the keys to the creative kingdom a few months back. Despite these rumblings being present since July, though, the former United States champion still boasted his Money in the Bank briefcase, and regularly threatened to derail the Tribal Chief's legendary run. Well, I say threatened. In reality, all Theory's failed world title cash-in attempts did was serve as a reminder of just how far away from the big time WWE felt the 25-year-old genuinely was at this current moment in time. And this was only further hammered home by the recent decision to have the youngest ever Mr. Money in the Bank not only cash in his title shot on a US title he'd held as recently as in July, July, but come up short in his November 7th bid to become the first ever star to cash said briefcase in on a secondary strap. Theory's future already felt somewhat clouded in the wake of the game entirely shaking up the system, but this entirely embarrassing turn of events on Monday Night Raw is the clearest sign yet that the young star's Chosen One status could be a thing of the past. Bet Vinnie Mac's fuming! And that's our list of any other wrestlers WWE gave up on in 2022. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see your pretty faces very, very soon, but in the meantime, just be good to yourself. Bye bye!